speedy meeting tonight, and would ask if you could just please turn off or silence your cell phones, and to remind everybody that our meetings are shown every day on Channel 2 at 6 p.m. and midnight, and also available for YouTube. And we'll go ahead and place a call to order with the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a silent prayer. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen. All right, old business first. We're going to start off with the minutes from February 27, 2024, regular meeting. If there's no questions or comments, just need a motion.
I move to approve the minutes from February 27, 2024, regular meeting.
Second.
All right, motion's been seconded. We'll begin voting with Commissioner Bowder.
Aye.
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 Aye. Motion passed 5-0. Second consideration ordinance, item 2, number 8236, special use permit of gas station use in North Neighborhood Redevelopment Overlay District at 300 North 4th Street.
Mayor and Commission, as you know, changes to city ordinances require a first and second consideration. This first item requests a special use permit for a gas station at 300 North 4th Street. There have been no changes since the last reading, no public comment, and it was recommended for approval by the Planning Commission.
Okay, thank you. Any comments? Oh,
No.
okay, just need a roll call vote. Go ahead.
Aye.
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 5-0. Item 3, second consideration ordinance number 8237, special use permit 920 North 14th Street for two-family dwelling in R1 to 6 zoning district.
This is also a second consideration ordinance for a two-family dwelling in R16 zoning. There have been no changes and no public comments since the last reading. Good.
Okay, thank you for that. Any comments or suggestions? No?
Aye.
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 5-0. Item 4, second consideration ordinance number 8238, development regulations text amendments.
Yep. This item is part of the annual review of development regulations, just to ensure consistency with other city codes and regulations and general updates. There have been no changes and no comments since the last reading.
Okay. Anything else here? All right. Commissioner Hengler?
Aye.
Roll call.
Aye.
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 5-0. And item 5, second consideration ordinance number 8239, amending Chapter 2, Article 2 of the Leavenworth Code of Ordinances.
This also is a second consideration. It's an update to Chapter 2 and establishes the annual process for commission leadership selection. There have been no changes since this came to the commission at February's first consideration.
Okay. Again, if no comments, Commissioner Bowder?
Aye.
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 All right, 5-0. Good deal. Moving on to new business and public comment. Sarah, do we have anybody?
We do. We have one, Mr. Daryl Spratt.
Okay. I'd like to remind everybody if that no items mentioned tonight on public comment will actually be taken up for a vote in the meeting tonight. And if we could limit our comments to 2 to 3 minutes, that would be fantastic. You could just state your name and address and come to the mic.
Daryl Spratt, 721 Michigan, and commissioners, and I am very gratified to see that crisis management preparedness was on your agenda. I have a couple thoughts I'd like to share with you and pose 2 questions. I spend some time wondering, worrying maybe, how I'm going to take care of my family, protect it in the case that there is a crisis. I do love my family, and I'd like to see them safe and well. I've realized, as I've thought about effective crisis preparedness, has to do with an accurate assessment. What are the possible crises I might face? I grew up in the 60s, and we had 2 crises. One, some kind of a natural weather disaster or an atomic attack. We knew where our civil defense shelters were. I don't know, maybe we need to think about that once again, but we haven't thought about it for a while. But I find myself concerned about potential infrastructure kinds of crises. I read the headlines, I read about regional banks collapsing and people's life savings, or the stock and their retirement account collapsing, not being able to pay their mortgages, not being able to purchase things. I've read about power grid collapse. There are certain regions of this country that suffer brownouts. And when you don't have power, like Texas, you can't heat your home, the pipes freeze in the winter, and another crisis. Civil chaos. I read about rioting, looting, perhaps terrorism, I don't know. And I'm concerned. Now, I'm hoping Leavenworth is in the Midwest and nobody's even thought of these things, but I'm not sure we're immune. I have to say some of the drastic mandates shut down, locked out businesses and churches, and that creates a crisis. And they pose a serious danger to my family's well-being, and I kind of think there's other families in the community that could suffer. We found empty shelves when we needed necessities, and a whole host of things. Heaven forbid that any of these infrastructure crises that I mentioned domino into others. I think it's quite easy to see if the digital network goes down, some other infrastructure problems could. We couldn't have this meeting because we couldn't record it. We can't speak on our, our mics, and can't look at our records because they're tied up in a digital format. First question. Do you have plans? What are your plans for infrastructure crises? Secondly, this recent AT&T outage was kind of an interesting test. I woke up one morning and I didn't have cell phone coverage. I live out in the county, don't have internet. Couldn't get a hold of anybody. And it wasn't until I got in my car and started driving around that I began to find out what's going on. I found out the magnitude is nationwide, affecting not only AT&T, but some of the other networks. I know my time's getting close. But I couldn't make a 911 call. I couldn't contact my wife, who's alone out in the county. And I didn't know what caused it, bad actor, human error, something else, and I didn't have any idea how long. And I started to get nervous. What do I need to do in case this is going to be prolonged? Well, fortunately, it was, less than 12 hours. So then I got online. I said, how do I get information?
Appreciate that, Mr. Spratt. Yeah.
And I found out I need to either call your number, but I don't have a cell phone, or I need to register to get a text from emergency management. Still don't have it. What are we going to do?
Yep.
Maybe we need to think about that radio announcement again.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Spratt. Appreciate that.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, Sarah, anyone else? Okay. All right, from there, we'll move on to general items. Item number 6, cancellation of taxable industrial revenue bond series 2021 luxury and import project.
So the IRBs supported the expansion of luxury and imports. That project was started in 2020 and is now complete. This has been reviewed by the city's bond council. Staff recommends approving the certificate of termination, which closes the bond process.
Okay. Full deal. Any questions, comments? No. You guys will have to
standard.
wait.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, cool. With that one, then we just need a motion.
I move to approve the certificate of termination for the taxable industrial revenue bond, Series 2021, as presented.
Second.
All right, motion's been seconded. We'll begin voting with Commissioner Hengela.
Aye.
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 All right, motion passed 5-0. Item 7, consider cereal malt beverage license for Little Bar at 1431 10th Avenue.
This item will be handled by Sarah Bodensteiner, our city clerk.
Mr. Mayor and Commissioners, tonight before you is consideration of approving the issuance of a 2024 cereal malt beverage license for the Little Bar located at 1431 10th Avenue. Due to the recent passing of the previous owner, a new cereal malt beverage license is required. State statute does not allow it to be transferred. So the new owner, who's related to the previous owner, has submitted his application for the cereal malt beverage license. It has been reviewed and approved by the police department for issuance. So it is before you guys tonight for approval for an on-premise license.
Okay. So nothing too different from last time, just.
Correct. Nothing is
Okay.
changing outside of just on the paperwork.
Perfect. Okay. Questions?
I knew Mike Malik. It was sad to hear of his passing.
Very sad. He's
Grew up with him in North Leavenworth.
Very sad.
Anyway, no, I support them continuing the Little Bar.
Okay, then I just need a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the issuance of the 2024 on-premise consumption cereal malt beverage license for the Little Bar located at 1431 10th Avenue.
Second.
Motion's been second. We'll begin voting with Commissioner Bowder.
Aye.
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 All right, motion passed 5-0. Item 8, Finance Department Policy Updates and Grant Management Policy.
City Finance Director Roberta Byer will handle this item.
Hello.
Mayor, Commissioners, I know you'll be relieved to know that I do not have an 85-minute slide presentation for
I was getting
tonight.
a little PTSD for a minute.
These are the other 8 policies. We went over the purchasing policy about a month ago, which there were quite a few substantive changes. These policies were reviewed by the Finance Department as a regular course. And there are very few changes. There were some formatting changes for ease of reading and be consistent between the policies. And there are a few changes that are notable, and I'm just going to review those quickly. On the budget policy, we did update it to include the revenue neutral rate hearing requirements, and we updated the timeline to meet the state's budget timeline requirements, which did change with the revenue neutral rate. On the budgetary reserve policy, we added a 30% reserve target for the general fund. Previously, there was a 16% minimum, so now we wish to be between the 16 and the 30. We did not have a reserve target for the refuse fund, which is one of those self-sustaining funds. So we added a 16% minimum reserve for the refuse fund with a 30% target. The capital asset policy, we added a reference to the restatement of leases and subscription-based IT arrangements to be in compliance with GAAP, and that is as esoteric as it sounds. And we updated the approval amount in accordance with the updated purchasing policy. The debt management policy had no notable changes. The investment policy had no notable changes, though we did write a system of internal controls, and that has been reviewed by the city manager. The revenue control policy had a big old paragraph justifying itself, which I removed from the introduction. Other than that, the revenue control policy has not changed. The capital improvement planning and equipment policy was changed to include equipment replacement in the title. We updated the improvement amounts in accordance with the updated purchasing policy. I removed an excerpt from the budgetary reserve policy because the reference to that policy is sufficient. And I removed the CIP calendar and referred to the budget policy, which includes the CIP process. The final policy was a grant management policy. That is a new policy, and it was drafted primarily to ensure that the finance department and the city manager are aware of all new grant requests. We have had instances where we found out in the finance department that there was a new grant when the check came in the mail, which is not great. So we're going to avoid that in the future. In addition, the grant management policy does require city commission approval if a new grant has matching funds requirement over $50,000, and we created a fillable PDF form for that policy. And that really is it as far as the substantive changes. And staff recommends that the city commission approve the updated finance policy and the new grant management policy as presented. Do you have any questions?
I don't, Roberta, you're very detailed as always, and I
Well,
appreciate
thank
that.
you for cleaning all that up.
You're welcome.
Questions from anybody?
No, this is pretty good.
Okay. Straightforward, just need a motion then.
I move to approve the updated finance policies and the new grant management policy to be effective as of this day, March 12th, 2024.
Second.
Motion's been seconded. We'll begin voting with Commissioner Hengula.
Aye.
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 Thank you.
Passed by zero. Thanks, Roberta. All right, item 9, bids, contracts, and agreements. Consider award for bid for CDBG Sidewalk Improvements Project.
The next 5 items will be Brian Faust, our Public Works Director.
All right. Good evening.
Evening. The first item this evening is to consider the bids for possible award of our 2024 sidewalk improvement project on Dakota Street. The project is part of our ongoing sidewalk repair and replacement work, typically funded by the city's portion of the countywide sales tax. In addition to dedicated sidewalk funding, community development is providing CDBG funding for this project. For 2024, funding is available to complete a section of sidewalk shown on your screen. It's from 4th Street eastward to the Cheyenne Curve. CDBG funding is subject to federal regulations, and an environmental review and request for release of funds from HUD has been completed. As mentioned in the past, we do have to be aware of the northern long-eared bat. It's an endangered species, and we can't remove trees during the pup rearing season in the springtime. Project plans were prepared by city staff, and the project was advertised for bid in the Leavenworth Times and Drexel Technologies. Bids were opened February 20th, and the bid results are included in your package. Casey Concrete Company was the low bidder. However, the company did not meet all the bidding requirements that were published in the notice to contractors. Therefore, we have moved to the second lowest bidder, Lina Weaver Construction. They have met all bidding requirements and have done a number of projects for the city in the past and have done great work for the city. The sidewalk improvements are expected to begin no later than April 1st, with the completion within 30 calendar days. There are time frames for using this CDBG money. The project consists of new ADA ramps, sidewalks, curbs, and drive entrances along both the north and south side of Dakota Streets, again from 4th Street east to Cheyenne. City staff will do the inspection on the project. Total project cost is $69,415. We do have funding available in the amount of $73,816. So the CDBG funds will cover the cost of the entire project. So staff does recommend the commission approve the qualified low bid submitted by Lina Weaver Construction in the amount of $69,415. Be happy to answer any questions you may have.
So you'll get it done before the long-eared bat has its babies?
Yep.
What does a northern long-eared bat live in? What type of tree?
Don't know.
Oh, you don't know, okay.
They just said that they
No trees, okay.
recommend we can't cut the trees down along project areas within this particular time frame.
Oh, okay, okay.
So get it done before they
I
have
thought it
it,
was a certain type of tree, okay.
before they have their kids, yeah.
According to Fort Hays State University, this area where this project is one of the few areas where it's, this area of Leavenworth is one of the few areas where it's been observed.
Wow.
We
Wow,
were
that's
this here and at the airport doing projects there as well.
Oh,
Mr. Faust, are you able to share the requirements that the lowest bidder didn't meet, Casey Concrete?
Yeah, with the federal funding is a requirement that you have a UEI number, which is a unique identity ID number. And it has to be active. They did not have an active UEI number, so being as this was being funded through CDBG funds, we could not accept that.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, perfect. Thank you. I have no other questions on this one. Anybody else? No? Okay, just need a motion then.
I move that approval of the qualified low bid submitted by Lina Weaver Construction for the 2024 CBDG sidewalk improvement project on Dakota Street between 4th Street and Cheyenne Curve. The amount not to exceed $69,415. Did I say that wrong?
No, I thought you were done and then I seconded it.
Okay.
No, that's cool. Been seconded. We'll go ahead and begin voting with Commissioner Bowder.
Aye.
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 Motion passed 5-0. Moving on to item 10, consider award of bid to replace number 2 grit classifier.
That'd be me.
Yep.
Grit classifiers are also known as a grit screw, grit separator, or grit classifier. And they're used at wastewater plants at the headworks, or basically the front end of the plant where the sewage comes into the plant, to help separate the grit from organics and water. Grit removal needs to be done at the headworks, or again at the front of the plant, to help reduce wear to upstream pumps and mechanical equipment. Grit can also cause pipe blockage and reduce the effective volume of our treatment basins. There are 2 grit removal systems at our wastewater treatment plant. We are currently running on only one of the 2, which is putting unnecessary stress on the overall system. The current grit system was installed as part of the 2004 Phase 1 project and is obsolete. Replacement parts and installation for the current system will cost approximately $90,000 with very limited warranty. If there is a future failure in an obsolete system, parts will be extremely hard or impossible to obtain. So by obtaining or upgrading to a new system, parts will be much more accessible. Bids were requested for the replacement of the grit classifier. Specifications were prepared by staff and advertised in the Leavenworth Times. Bids were also sent to a number of vendors that we've worked with in the past. We opened bids on February 29th, and we only received one bid, and that was from JCI Industries in the amount of $139,530. The 24 CIP includes $150,000 for replacement of the grit classifier. The bid from JCI is $10,470 less than the budgeted amount. Anticipated delivery time is 14 to 16 weeks once the classifier is ordered. City staff does recommend that the commission approve the bid from JCI Industries for the replacement of the grit classifier in the amount of $139,530. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
This also was one of the items listed in the city study that we received to maintain the wastewater treatment plant.
Okay, that's good to know. Yeah.
Holly, you're going to learn more about poop than you ever wanted to know.
It's grit.
Grit.
What do you think?
No, I don't have any questions, I'm sorry.
I don't have any questions.
Yeah, different market than concrete for sure. So, okay, well, if no other questions, just need a motion.
I move that we approve the bid from JCI Industries for a replacement grit classifier for a cost not to exceed $139,530.
Second.
All right, motion's been seconded. We will begin voting with Commissioner Gila.
Aye.
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 All right, motion passed 5-0. Moving on to item 11, consider award of bid for new cab and chassis with aerial device.
Celia.
When we talk aerial device, we're talking about basically a bucket truck. The 24 CIP does include funding for the purchase of a new bucket truck. This truck will be used to maintain our traffic signals here in the city, as well as city-owned streetlights. The current vehicle being used is a 2012 truck, and it has a shorter aerial length that limits our ability to maintain existing city streets lights. The existing truck, typically we would sell that on Purple Wave. We have had interest from the Parks Department, so we're looking at whether it should go to Parks or be sold on Purple Wave. Specifications were prepared and advertised in Leavenworth Times. A request for bids were sent to the following vendors: Custom Truck, Crane Works, and Alltech Industries out of St. Joe. The bids were opened on March 1st, and we did receive 2 bids. Crane Works at $189,909, and Alltech Industries for $216,835. The CIP did include $195,525 for a new bucket truck. The bid from Crane Work is roughly $5,600 less than what was budgeted. and the anticipated delivery time is 6 to 8 weeks after the order is placed. Staff does recommend the commission approve the lowest bid from Craneworks in Olathe, Kansas for one new 2023 cabin chassis with a 40-foot aerial device in the amount of $189,909. And we'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you.
Okay, 5,000 less than the budgeted amount. That's
Correct.
good, good.
It's Cadillac edition.
That's pretty good for being that close,
Yes.
checking that far away, so.
Both companies are good companies. We work with Alltech a lot out of St. Joe.
St.
We're
Joe,
kind
yeah.
of hoping that they were, because they're close, but yeah, Craneworks is good too.
Yeah, okay. All right, well, appreciate that. I don't have any questions, so if nobody else does, just need another motion.
I move the city commission accept the lowest qualified bid from Craneworks from Olathe, Kansas for one new 2023 cabin chassis with 40-foot aerial device in the amount not to exceed $189,909.
Second.
Motion's been seconded. We will begin voting with Commissioner Bowder.
Aye.
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 Motion passed 5-0. Item 12, consider award of bid for crack seal machine. Mr. Faust.
Also, the 2024 CIP includes funding for a new crack seal machine to replace the 2005 model currently in use. Specifications were prepared by our service center and advertised in the Leavenworth Times. Requests for bids were also sent to 6 different vendors: Craftco, Bearcat, Simline, Sealmaster, Marathon Equipment, and American Equipment. We did open bids on March 1st, and we received 3 bids. Marathon Equipment, a non-responsive, they were again missing some of the required paperwork. Sealmaster, Kansas City at $86,893, and American Equipment for $101,066. The 2024 CIP includes $103,162 for the crack seal machine. We had inadvertently listed this amount in your policy report as $103,262. The actual number is $162. The bid from Sealmaster is $16,268 under budget. We anticipate the delivery time of 6 weeks once the order is placed. So staff does recommend the commission approve the lowest qualified bid from Sealmaster in Kansas City, Missouri, for a new crack seal machine in the amount of $86,893.65.
Thank you.
No questions.
Okay.
You're on a roll.
I was gonna say, not super exciting, right? I know, it's straightforward there. Okay, and I have no questions either, so with that, we'll just need a motion.
I move that the city commission accept the lowest qualified bid from Sealmaster for a new crack seal machine in the amount not to exceed $86,893.65.
Second.
Motion's been seconded. We'll begin voting with Commissioner Hila.
Aye.
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 All right, motion passed 5-0. Item 13, consider award of bid for 2024 pavement management program mill and overlay project.
Again, thank you. This is my last item tonight.
Yeah.
Beginning in the fall of 2023, the City of Leavenworth engineering staff compiled a list of possible streets for the 2024 mill and overlay project. Many of the streets selected are on the verge of needing to be completely reconstructed. It was kind of a now or never. The streets were evaluated using both actual field observations, so we put boots on the ground, and we also looked at their pavement condition index, or PCI. Based on this evaluation, a final list of streets was determined for 2024 for our mill and overlay project. The past couple of years, we've done some seal coats, whether that's been a pressure pave, granite seal, or microsurfacing. This year, based on the results of the last couple of years with microsurfacing, staff has not been that pleased with the results. We felt it important this year to do mill and overlay and concentrate on that. In previous years, both general obligation bonds and sales tax were used to fund street maintenance program. For 2024, the City Commission authorized the use of sales tax for the annual pavement management program. And this does include mostly streets, but it also does include one parking lot. The mill and overlay program includes the streets highlighted on the map. We try to get all around the city. A continuation of what we did last year, we did Shawnee from 10th to 15th. We're going to complete Shawnee from 15th to 20th. If anybody drives Shrine Park, you know that that's in pretty rough condition. We're doing Shrine Park from Lemon all the way south. We do have a few pictures. This Kiowa.
Yeah.
Fairly rough. This is 7th Street. This is Shrine Park as of this morning. And then this would be the parking lot that we're doing a mill and overlay on up on 4th and Kiowa. When we bid it based on the bid prices received in 2023. This was our estimate. We did include 3 alternates that could be added if the base bid came in under the engineer's estimate. 2 of those were sections of Shrine Park and 1 was a section of Broadway. We opened the bids, and the low bid was from Little Joe Asphalt for the base of $1,416,746. With that, we were able to add the 3 alternates so we could complete Shrine Park all the way and also do a section of Broadway. That brought the total price, including the base bid with the alternates, to $1,804,176.98. The budget for 2024 includes $2 million for pavement. Little Joe's Asphalt base bid with the alternates was $195,000 under the $2 million budget. That gives us money in 2024 to work with our consultant to plan the 2025 project. So, staff does recommend the City Commission award the base bid and the 3 alternates for the 2024 pavement management program to Little Joe's Asphalt for an amount of $1,804,176.98. Be happy to answer any questions.
Is this Little Joe's out of Bonner Springs, Missouri, or is that supposed to say Kansas?
Did I say in Missouri?
I just checked. So
It's
it's a
Kansas,
Kansas company,
yeah.
okay. And we've used them before?
Yeah, quite frequently.
Okay.
Thank you for that, Mr. Frost. Questions?
Nope.
And this does include striping. I mean, so the streets that we're milling and overlaying that require striping includes all that. We'll go back
Okay.
also.
Perfect, okay. Cool, thank you for laying that all out like you did. I just need a motion.
I move to award the base bid and 3 alternates for the 2024 pavement management program mill and overlay project to Little Joe's Asphalt in the amount not to exceed $1,804,176.98.
Second.
Excuse me, all right, the motion is seconded. We'll begin voting with Commissioner Bowder.
Aye.
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 All right, motion passed 5-0. Thank you. Move on to item 14, consider approval of network switches replacement and installation project.
This item will be handled by IT Director Marvin Sommerfeld.
Good evening,
good
Mr.
evening.
Mayor and Commissioners. Before you tonight, I have a project to consider replacing all of our network switches. I want to replace the Cisco network with the Aruba switches, which is the latest technology from HP Enterprises. The current switches have reached end of life and support on some of them. And end of life hardware means vendors stop creating and delivering updates for and end of support hardware. So they just quit supporting them. It's planned obsolescence. So these network switches will become a security risk for the city, and we will not be able to purchase maintenance or support. So switching to Aruba will save the city $19,526 on the initial hardware investment and an additional savings of $13,785 in maintenance over the next 5 years. Additional benefits are the simplification of licensing, and we will get a graphical user interface to manage these switches. So ISG was awarded and installed the current switches. The ISG team has the experience and knowledge of our network to complete this upgrade. ISG knows the technical configurations of our network. So city policy authorizes leveraging cooperative contracts to streamline the acquisition process and receive competitive pricing. ISG is authorized reseller on the state of Kansas contract 55219B for HP Enterprise equipment on the NASPO agreement. This is a complex upgrade. It's replacing every switch on our network and will benefit from ISG's knowledge and experience with our network to make informed decision regarding the implementation and work with toward a seamless integration and replacing these switches. Completing this project will allow us to increase bandwidth in between City Hall and the Justice Center, and so this switch project must be completed before the sand project that we'll talk about next. Commission approved $86,000 for this CIP project in 2023. NASPO pricing came in at $105,907.98. The balance of $19,907.98 will be funded by reserves in the CIP sales tax fund. So staff recommends that the City Commission approve the 23 project, partner with ISG, and replace our network switches in the amount of $105,907.98. A lot of words. I'll stand for questions.
When was the last time this was done, that these switches were
5 and 6 years ago.
years ago? Okay, it's probably in here, I didn't remember that. And will there be downtime and, to install
There will
these?
have to be downtime because we'll be pulling one switch out of a rack and replacing it with another one. But we'll work evenings and around busy schedules to make this happen.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Summerfield,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
You said the current ones, the Cisco ones, are nearing the end of their life, end of support. How long will it be before these new ones are approaching end of life, end of support?
5 to 6 years. They haven't announced the end of life yet on these new switches, but that's something they'll do in a couple of years.
Right after we buy it.
Right after we
Yeah.
Mr. Summerfield, your note says right here it was approved in the 2023 budget, so about a year and a half ago. Is that
Yes.
right? Okay. Was the biggest difference, do you think, in the estimate more labor from the ISG company, or was it actually in the hardware cost
Hardware
itself?
costs have gone up considerable.
Okay.
Yeah, I can say I was part of putting that CIP request together, working with IT, and that was based on the quotes we had at the time. So you can see even in a year and a half, how some of those prices have changed.
Yeah. Okay. I appreciate that. Thank you.
And we have the 19,000 to cover, in the CIP fund to cover this?
Correct. The
Okay.
additional funds will come out of the CIP sales tax fund reserves.
Okay.
So on asphalt and other items, we were able to do more, and
Save some
on
money.
IT, we're just feeling the impact of prices.
Yeah. Totally get it. That along coming with the new update from the feds today on what inflation is doing, so still right in line. I don't have any other questions. Anybody else does? So I just need a motion on that.
I move that we approve the 2023 project, partner with ISG, and replace network switches in the amount of $105,907.98.
Second.
All right, motion's been seconded. We'll begin voting with Commissioner Hinkle.
Aye.
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 All right, motion passed 5-0. Moving on to item 15. Consider approval of storage area network SAN replacement project.
The IT department is seeking to replace our Nimble SAN, which is a storage area network, so we can get into really complex things tonight. The SAN hosts our servers, and I'm replacing a Nimble with its big brother, the Electra. They've rebranded, so we're replacing like hardware. The Electra is the latest technology from HPE. So a SAN is a highly efficient, organized service for storing all of our virtual servers and data. The SAN combines servers and hard drives and network switches, software, and services. So the SAN is the hard drive and servers for all of our city applications. The current Nimble storage are reaching end of life and support. And that means vendors, again, are going to stop creating hardware and patches for this hardware. That becomes a security risk for the city. ISG was awarded and installed the current SAN, and the ISG team has the experience and the knowledge of our implementation to complete this upgrade. ISG knows the technical configurations of this system. So city policy authorizes leveraging cooperative contracts to streamline the acquisition process and receive competitive pricing. ISG is authorized reseller on the state of Canada's contract 55219B for HP Enterprise on the NASPO agreement. So this is a complicated upgrade that we will benefit from ISG's knowledge and experience with our network to make informed decisions regarding implementation and work toward a seamless integration and replacement of this hardware. The beauty of this is we should not have any downtime. The magic of virtual servers is we can build a new one and just what I call squirt servers, migrate them to the new storage system and not experience any downtime. The commission approved $400,000 for this CIP project in the 2024 budget. The NASPO contract pricing is $448,122.98. The balance of $48,122.98 will be funded by reserves again in the CIP sales tax fund. Staff recommends the commission approve the 24 project to partner with ISG and replace our SAN, the storage area network, in the amount of $448,122.98.
And if I can help restate what I think Marvin did so well is, we need storage for our software to function. So all of our applications, our Munis finance system, city clerks permitting software, all of that requires storage for the actual operations.
Wait, what would that mean for like additional layers of hardening or anything like that, you know, from a security standpoint? Is this we're going to see something noticeably different at all, or anything you can share on that?
We'll have additional encryption on the back end. You won't notice anything, but it will bring more encryption and newer servers that will be, the host servers will be hardened.
Okay. Thank you.
Good.
Technology's expensive.
Well, and I don't
And
think
they
we
know
can go competitive bid on this, can we? Because it's like, didn't they create the system?
And on the NASPO contracts, that is competitive bidding.
Okay,
The state then
State
goes
of
out
Kansas.
and works with all these vendors to get the
Through a
best
state.
pricing.
Right, and then
Through the state of
you get that
Kansas,
scale
okay.
then.
yeah,
With
got
that
it.
larger contract to get the.
Okay,
Okay.
all
Okay.
right.
I guess just one question I've got, because I remember this a couple years ago too. I think when we were talking about ISG, I understand the value of having somebody that knows your network inside and out and everything like that. Is there anything we could do down the road to look at other options that we might have, outside of ISG?
The thing that comes to mind is staffing. If we had staff on-prem that was able to learn those systems, but right now, IT's lean and mean. So we just do not have the expertise of that.
No, and I didn't mean just outside of ISG, period, any other companies or anything like that, so.
I can certainly look in the future for other options. There are many different options. I have used this SAN and installed one with a different vendor. So I know this hardware is really good stuff. But we will certainly look in the future of how to find additional vendors with this.
Sure.
I think we do, we consider all of our options when we do purchasing of these dollar amounts. We're talking, a $400,000 investment. So I think we go through that conversation as a team and say, is this appropriate for a bid process? There are some items that is appropriate for. We did that when we looked at backup. So we did that as a straight bid process.
Right.
So when it's appropriate, we do the bid process. When there's options like this and we feel like we're getting good pricing, we go there. So it kind of depends on the item.
Sure, sure. No, I appreciate that. Thank you. Don't have any other questions on this side?
No.
Okay. We just need a motion.
I move approval of the 2024 project to partner with ISG to replace the storage area network in the amount not to exceed $448,122.98.
Second.
All right. Motion's been seconded. We'll begin voting with Commissioner Bowder.
Aye.
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 All right, motion passed 5-0. Thank you, Marvin. Appreciate it. Moving on to, from here, our staff report for the emergency management briefing.
Yep, this will be Leavenworth County Emergency Manager Chuck Magaha joining us today.
Either one.
Any of those? It's fine. Yep.
So it looks like right here is fine.
We should get you a microphone, then you're good.
Yep. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. I appreciate the opportunity to communicate with you folks. Listening to the gentleman earlier when in public comment, he's had every right to have those comments, bring forth. And I can't say that I have a bag of promises, because anytime you talk about emergency management, it's chaos at first, and then we make it better. In that, I'm just going to give you a real quick background on myself. I've been the emergency manager for Leavenworth County going on my 35th year, and I feel that I know my job fairly decent. I was appointed by the governor to sit on the Commission of Emergency Response and Planning. I've served in that capacity for the last 4 years, and for the last 7 years, I've sat on the Homeland Security Council for the entire state of Kansas. I oversee 7 regions, as well as state assets when it comes to the purchasing of Homeland Security funding. Within the Mid-America Regional Council, I play a lot of roles within there as well. I sit on the Plan Subcommittee as co-chair for Kansas. And then as far as the Homeland Security, I report to the Regional Homeland Security Council on a regular basis to make sure that Leavenworth, and I say Leavenworth County, I'm talking about as a whole, gets our fair share of Homeland Security funds when it becomes available within the state of Kansas. How that rolls back is that sitting as chair on the Homeland Security Council in Kansas, I have that opportunity to make that same voice for Kansas as it goes forward. When we talk about emergency management, it's we're charged, we as emergency management, even though that I'm a division under the Sheriff's Office. In 2018, I was moved to emergency management moved to the Sheriff's Office to lessen the impact within the smaller departments within the county. And it only made sense. It was probably one of the best moves that happened for myself, because I went from an office of 2 to an office of 142. And I was very appreciative of that. I have an office of 3, counting myself. I have an emergency planner and exercise assistant, and then I have a deputy that serves in my shoes when I'm not present. And then I have 50 volunteers, which I graciously thank on a day-to-day basis, which helps us on severe weather communications, and you name it, they're there at every beck and call. But we're charged with the planning of emergency operations plans. And understand that the emergency operations plan, when it comes to Leavenworth City, you're just as much as part of the county's emergency operations plan as the city of Easton, Linwood, Tonganoxie, Lansing, and Basehor, and as well as the unincorporated areas. The state of Kansas only recognizes the county's emergency operations plan, which is the sole responsibility of the Board of County Commissioners. The Board of County Commissioners appoint or assign that responsibility over to the emergency manager to see that those tasks are done, and to make sure that we build our plan so it's inclusive for all jurisdictions. Now, you notice I left out Fort Leavenworth, and it wasn't intentional. It's because Fort Leavenworth has their own, on the federal aspect of it, that we play with the Fort Leavenworth on a regular basis, and we're up there once a month at least, communicating and coordinating with Fort Leavenworth. But on the city standpoint, you know, I know your department heads, you know, and I don't know them just because I met them at an incident. I make it forth that I go out and I meet with Penny, and I meet with Paul, and I meet with Brian, and the list goes on and on. So when the chaos gets crazy, they know the responsibilities and roles within emergency management. Now, in saying that, I know when I was communicating with your administrator, Paul, he asked if the city needed to have an emergency operations plan. As I said at the very beginning, the state of Kansas only recognizes the county's emergency operations plan. It does not mean that the city does not need an emergency operations plan, but it's something that it might be considered, you know, in the future. And when I say that, I'm not trying to give you more work by no means. We would be there by their beck and call, because whatever the city decides that they want within their emergency operations plan, it has to marry into the county's emergency operations plan. Understand that the Leavenworth City has a mutual aid agreement with every city in the state of Kansas. So for me to get a resource, I'm a big resource catalog, if you will. You don't have to have a written mutual aid agreement for fire, law enforcement, public works, whatever it might be, even staffing. I can pick up the phone, get that mutual aid request sent out, and fill those gaps and needs that we have within the city in the event of a disaster. The only way you can get out of the statute, the way it's written, it's called Emergency Management Compact Assistance Law, is that you have to write a letter to the governor opting out. That is yet to happen in the state of Kansas. It'd be silly to do that. So that's a big plus for Kansas. That came as a result of Greensburg, Kansas, when y'all come. You know, I spent 21 days in Greensburg in trying to make a recovery process from them. And I've been deployed to other areas of the state of Kansas to help them get back on their feet. So when we look at, in as far as family preparedness, we only have control of what's out at arm's length. Once it gets beyond that, we are relying on other individuals or other organizations or other corporations to do that for us. So the best way we can prepare is to understand what's going on. The gentleman was speaking of the AT&T failure. That failure, we were in a communication meeting here 2 weeks ago, and the AT&T outage for AT&T proper was only 1 hour. Once they got that hour up, it took them almost 6 hours because everybody was overloading the system all at one time. And that's where the downfall. They're working on that so that doesn't happen again. The same situation happened with T-Mobile here not too long ago. Matter of fact, it was 2 weeks ago. But again, we don't have the ability to work. Was it a hacker? I don't know. I don't know what the circumstances was, or was it a human error. But we had to look at that as a learning point of what we can do for communications. And have we reached that point yet? No, I can tell you right now. But family preparedness is huge. And when we talk about family preparedness, is how prepared is your family? How prepared is your business? How prepared is your facility? And we can help with that, you know, when moving forward. When we look at all the different aspects of life and how it happens, it's cyber. You know, I just heard your IT gentleman speaking here, and that's a huge dollar amount to bite off on. But we have to do it because hackers get into our SCADA system, whether it's water or whether it's wastewater or telephone. It's something that we don't have control. We can just continue to build on to protect ourselves in that case. So put that on a smaller basis. That's where family preparedness comes into. And we ask folks that they have 72 hours of a preparedness kit that has water, food, medications, whatever it is that your family would need to function for the next 72 hours. The reason we do that, and I'm going to go to the Linwood tornado, and I say Linwood, it was actually the southern part of the county. Linwood was not actually affected by that tornado. You know, it was almost 2 days before we could physically make contact with somebody because we had so much going on. But I can tell you in the Linwood tornado that we had the fastest response, which Leavenworth City was a part of that huge response when it comes to debris removal through that process. And that wasn't because we didn't know what we were doing. We were able to grid out the communities that needed to have the most attention to and go in, do the debris removal, open up the streets, remove power lines, whatever it is that we needed to do to get people back on their feet again. So if that happened here in the city, I guarantee you that we would do everything in our power to make sure that we would have that same response. Of course, it would be greater within here in the city. My biggest nightmare is when there's a severe thunderstorm rolling through the community, because I have a bank of volunteers that are stretched out from north to south, giving a set of eyes so we can warn the city of Leavenworth, warn the city of Lansing, and so on and so forth as soon as we can. So I didn't come with any formal presentation. I want to make sure that you folks have an opportunity to ask questions of myself. And if I don't have the answer, I'll definitely get you the answer in a very timely manner. I'm being evaluated because my commissioner's sitting back here behind me. She's a sweetheart.
Yes, she is.
So, I think it was, well, I don't know, my years blend, but maybe 4 or 5 years ago when the last time the river started flooding.
2019.
Same, I knew you knew. So how does that work with us? Like,
That worked real good.
Yeah.
You know, I got the phone call from Mike McDonald. We met here to start planning for the river. Now, understand, that happened at the same time as the Linwood tornado. We were battling the Missouri River flood at the same time.
That's right, I
we were
forgot about
battling
that.
Yeah.
the tornado. So we have them going simultaneously. And I don't want to say it was flawless, but I was able to bring in county resources immediately. They were out here at midnight putting sandbags together to start the preliminary, and then I was able to reach out to the Kansas State Department of Corrections to bring inmates in here that ended up putting together that stuff. You folks had Geiger Ready Mix and things of that nature already coming. We brought that supplement to fill the gap through that process.
so did you take the lead on that, or does the city take the lead on that?
It's a joint coordinated
Joint, okay.
effort. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
You know, if this has to become the Emergency Operations Center, and that's what you choose to do, we'll make it work. The county has a designated Emergency Operations Center at the courthouse. I know it looks like a conference room, but when it's ready, we have phone lines that drop from the ceiling and computers that just come out of nowhere, and we're ready to operate. On the 2019 tornado and flooding, we were activated 24 hours a day for the first 7 days, and then after that, we were running about 16-hour days for about 20 days. And that was to support both the city and the county as well.
With the Linwood tornado, would there have been anything differently you would have done?
I would have went on vacation, sir. If I would have known. No, I got to share a story with you because that happened on Thursday evening. And myself and Kim Buchanan, she's retired now, she was sitting there and I says, we're going to get hit with this event. You understand that? I said, we're not going anywhere at 5 o'clock. It's going to hit us. And sure enough, 40 minutes later, it was ripping through the southern part of the county. But my son was getting married on Saturday. Oh, no. And the rehearsal dinner was Friday. And who had the keys to the church? Charlie. Wow. And my wife kept saying, you got to be there. Yeah, I'll be there. I'll be there. And you're in the wedding. Yes, I know I'm in the wedding. But I had the staff and I had the roles and responsibilities within Emergency Operations Center that it went flawlessly, if you will. But not for me, it didn't, because I got there 10 minutes before I was to open up the church. So
You made it.
I made it.
Okay.
I made it. But enough stories on my own. But what would I have done different? I can tell you that when the National Weather Service went and they come out after a major event like that, or any tornado event that happens, they do a canvass. And every person they talked to said that they received the warning either by our alert sense, that we have our mass notification system, through the outdoor warning sirens, or the media. And we have within the Kansas City metropolitan area, it's called the IWT, the Integrated Warning Team. And it's made up of all the major news channels, it's made up of the emergency managers, and it's made up of the National Weather Service folks. We get together twice a year and we discuss what can we do better, what can we not. And one of the things is to be consistent. And when I say be consistent, whether it's Johnny Rollins flying in the air or whether it's Gary Lezak on the TV, every one of those news meteorologists were saying the same exact thing. So there was no discrepancy. They didn't care if they were getting more of the bite of TV or not. It was strictly, let's save people. I think the only thing that I would have done is come up with a better sheltering process within the city of Linwood. Not that the shelter would have served people, but we had a school that had closed, the Base Linwood School, which was on our list. And then the community center that was down there was being refurbished. So we made it work. And, but that was probably one of the biggest things, just somewhere where people can come for reunification, where people can come for a one-stop shop to help them get back on their feet. But as it was, and I'm not patting myself on the back, but I'm patting myself on the back, in 2 weeks, we had recovery well on the way, that those people were not asking for assistance, on a regular basis.
Good job. Good job.
Well, I know that being part of, I know Leavenworth is part of the response team, as is the hospitals and EMTs. Everybody is a part of that. But I think I asked Paul several months ago, is what do we do if City Hall blows up? What do we do here? And I knew we were part of that response team, so I'm glad that, he brought you in to come and speak to us tonight and explain that to us, how we as a
Sure, Commissioner.
community.
And speaking of that, if something happens to this facility, and I'm a real advocate about continuity of operations, the county has a continuity of operations plan. We know where we're going to go, in the event of a system. Not everybody might know, but we can direct them where to go. I would highly, and I spoke to Paul about this already, and I've given him the template on how to build a continuity of operations plan within the city here. I think it's important that you have that capability, that if you lose a portion of your local government, that you can stand it right back up in a moment's notice. So he has that document, and he said that he would go to work for that.
That's great.
Yeah, that's good. Well, and that actually kind of answers one of the questions I had was, contingency plans. So, Ms. Morgaha, you laid out several examples of where, well, maybe we planned for some type of scenario like this, but we didn't expect the repercussions like this, over here. Just like you mentioned, like an hour down with AT&T, but they had 6 hours because they were just completely overloaded. Would they plan for that? Who knows, I guess that was one of my questions, though, maybe for the continuity of service plan like you laid out, what kind of length of time, let's say, something happened and our police department or fire department was getting exhausted on the labor side, God forbid, but if something happened, are you saying that this continuity plan could account for that? We could get additional resources from other cities? How would that work, just out of curiosity?
Yeah.
Well, something that I didn't tell you, that is I oversee what we call the Incident Support Program, too, of Kansas. And it takes care of both the Emergency Operations Center and then the responders in the field. With just one phone call, I can deploy teams from all over the state of Kansas to come in here, whether it's a law enforcement team or whether it's a fire team, whether it's an EMS team, whatever it might be, Public Works. We can bring those resources in, and then we will do the planning. We will put together an incident action plan on what needs to go step by step to make you succeed. And that's, of course, during a disaster or an emergency. And it could even be a planned event. I'm using the Veterans Day Parade for an example. We can definitely put something together on that if something should happen. Matter of fact, I use that Veterans Day Parade as a scenario when I'm working with my incident management teams across Kansas.
Okay.
We just did that 2 weeks ago. So.
And I appreciate that. And you mentioned the emergency response plan. You said right now, we specifically, we can be married into the county plan, but we specifically don't have anything set up individually for Leavenworth, City of Leavenworth right now. Did I hear you right?
There used to be, and I tried to look for it, and I cannot find the document. I know, I can't remember Joe's last name, it was with the fire department, but he was the assistant fire chief at the time. But Joe had wrote one, and to save my soul, I cannot find it electronically. Of course, I've gone through computers over computers over computers, but I've not been able to find that, but I know one existed, and it was being updated on a regular basis. I can provide, again, I say a template, I'm not a template type of guy, but
Sure.
it's definitely a starting block for the folks. And understand that if the disaster happens within the city of Leavenworth, you guys can declare a disaster, okay, amongst your city, which would open up, you know, your rights and your ordinances and things of this nature that you can work on up to 7 days. Now, if it gets, this is just talking about the jurisdictional boundaries of Leavenworth, that is just using your resources. If you need more resources, we have to push that up to the Board of County Commissioners, have the authority to declare a disaster for Leavenworth County. And that's all jurisdictions within Leavenworth County. And the way our plan is set up, I have it set up that I can, instead of waiting until Wednesday to have the board declare a disaster, I can go to one member of the commission, or I can go to the chairman of the commission. It's whoever I can get a hold of first, and it can be by telephone, or it can be written. Once I get it by telephone, I get a written document that on such and such a day, on March 12th, we declared a disaster for XYZ. But we usually include all jurisdictional boundaries, because that ripple effect that you had spoke, kind of like throwing a rock in a pond, you know, you're going to get those ripples that go out. It's going to affect somebody on the outside of the city for sure.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate that. So I don't want to speak for anybody, since we had a plan and maybe there's a gap now that we don't. Is that something we can,
The status of the plan and give the commission an update.
if we could, that'd be great, you know. Just any
And we're
updated-
more than willing to sit with you folks and within your planning team to build that, you know, plan so it's specific for Leavenworth City.
That would be fantastic, yeah. I mean, is that cool with everybody else? So.
Yes.
Mr. McGay, earlier you mentioned the fort, they fall under federal jurisdiction, they have their own plans and such, and I know they've got a very capable emergency operations center. Are they included in any mutual aid plans with the city of Leavenworth or the county of Leavenworth?
They are with the fire side of it. There's an
Yeah,
agreement there on the fire side. But on the law enforcement side, you come to that posse comitatus where they're not allowed outside their gates. We can go on their premises as law enforcement to assist them. But any public arrest would have to go through their military folks. It's kind of touchy, and even with their inmate population that they have, they can't take them to just any jurisdiction. They have to take them to Fort Riley or wherever the other
Leonard Wood or
jurisdictions
somewhere,
might be. We're going through that right now through an exercise that we're working with them on.
Okay, what about like, for disasters, you know, like the what's it called, the tornado came through, lots of property damage, stuff all over the place. Can they work with the city or work with the county?
They would, if it's a life or death situation, they would be
Okay.
able to come off and help us. And it's a fine line on that life or death. I could say, well, we think somebody's gonna get hurt really bad. They all come.
Yeah.
So we have access to their public works folks, you know, just the same as mutual aid. And it would be within the city. I can tell you that when we had the tornado down south in 2019, excluding the fort. I had every jurisdiction within Leavenworth County there helping with Public Works. Plus I had Public Works from Douglas County, which was also hit by the tornado. I had it from Jefferson County, I had it from Wyandotte County and Johnson County. We had a caravan of dump trucks and backhoes for almost over 3/4 of a mile to assign them tasks. And that would be no different than if something happened here.
Sure. Sounds like you had a boatload of help.
Thank you for coming tonight.
Thank you.
Sure.
Very informative.
Yeah,
Sure.
thank you very much.
And at
Like
any
to-
time, feel free to reach out to me and I'll definitely answer your questions. Penny? I hope
Staff
I
has
gave you what
appreciated
you need.
working with Chuck. He's a great resource and a leader to have in the community. I actually heard his name before I came to Leavenworth, so he's well-known in Kansas emergency management circles. We've actually been putting our heads together on sharing some business continuity resources with local businesses here, so we're exploring the possibilities there as well.
Great.
Thank you,
Are you
Chuck.
gonna bring your mobile command center over to the preparedness fair
Yes, sir.
on the corner of
I'll let
10th
you
and
sit in the
Limit,
driver's
right?
seat. Yeah, we'll have
Good.
it there.
When is that? That's
23rd,
the 23rd of March,
March 23rd.
right there on 10th and Limit.
Correct. Correct.
Great. I remember walking through it the one time. You've got it set up.
Thank you.
That's for sure.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McGaha. Appreciate it.
Commissioners, we appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, we will go ahead and move into our consent agenda tonight.
I move that we approve the consent agenda in the amount of $1,507,251.40 for the period of February 23rd, 2024 through March 7th, 2023. Net amount for the payroll, number 4, is effective February 23rd, 2024, in the amount of $406,035.97. Includes police and fire pension in the amount of $7,491.38.
Second.
All right, we'll begin voting with Commissioner Bowder.
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
All right,
Wait for me, yes.
motion passed 5-0. And now we're going to go ahead and move into executive session. So what's that? Do that first? Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, go around the table first. Saul, do you have any
I don't have anything tonight.
questions? All right, cool. Ed? Any
No,
comments
the
tonight?
St. Patrick's Day Parade is coming up. It starts on, 12 o'clock, I think, on Sunday.
1
Or
o'clock.
is it
believe
1
it's
o'clock?
1.
1 o'clock on Sunday, and y'all come out and watch. It's a grand old time.
I don't have anything. Unfortunately, I will not be at the parade. My daughter has a performance at 1 o'clock at the Coterie Theater, so I'm gonna miss it. Apparently, they celebrate on a different day in Kansas City, but, so, everybody have fun and be safe, and, love seeing Leavenworth Green today.
You want to talk about that, or you want me to?
Go ahead.
Okay. This is Stand Up for Children, Child Abuse Prevention Month. And just wanted to say that we've got some, I'm sorry, in April. I'm not even reading my thing right here.
It's coming.
It's coming up. It's not on here. I just thought it was this month. Anyway, it's coming up. And we, we need to protect our children. And we have a lot of really good organizations that work to protect our children, such as CASA, the Alliance Against Family Violence, Big Brothers Big Sisters, a lot of our churches, a lot of our other organizations. And so anyway, I want you to think about our children and supporting those organizations that protect our children for the month of April. Thank you.
Yep,
Did I do okay?
you did great.
You're here.
Nailed it.
Yeah, it's Child Abuse Prevention Month every month. Yes, great job. God bless, have a great week, and happy St. Patrick's Day.
Thank you. The same here. God bless, and we will see you all next week after our executive session here. And with that, I'd like to go ahead and move that the City Commission recess into executive session for a period of 15 minutes for the purpose of discussing security measures pursuant to the discussion of matters relating to security measures that protect a public body or agency, public building or facility, or the information system of a public body or agency, exception per KSA 75-4319B12C. The City Commission Assistant City Manager and Director of Information Technology will be present. The open meeting will resume in the City Commission chambers at, 7:29 PM. And I just need to,
Second.
all right, well, we have voted with Commissioner Hengler.
Aye.
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 Welcome back, everyone. We, at this time, would like to entertain a motion to end the executive session we were just in.
So moved.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, and with that, we just need a motion to close.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.